Smart means business management region with a good win back to it. We drive your business throughout the way, and today the point of discussion is largely on how to make the holiday makers busy, as we know that these are the future entrepreneurs, these are the future personnel that are going to be holding the nation's economy and the continent at large. But of course, before we get into that, we believe in inspiration here in Smart Means Business every morning, and of course we have to inspire you with the business tips and pods from the different renowned business personnel. Forget about making mistakes, just do it.
Just get it done, isn't it? Speaking of making mistakes, especially now that we're in a space where we're trying to elevate our skills and promote ourselves in this holiday season. We have a lot of people coming back for the holiday season. I mentioned earlier in the earlier segment how I was at a friend's place and their son had just come back for holidays as an S5, and you're saying, what advice would you give me? He's doing PEM. Physics, economics, and math. And every time I have to be able to inspire the younger generation, I am I take it on like a big responsibility, because had I had someone tell me these things when I was much younger, maybe would have taken a different path. I could have made much better decisions. So it's always important to shape the youth. Now that they're coming back for the holidays, what kind of information are we feeding them with? I told him, first of all, one of the many skills that you need to have is a sales skill.
Sales skill,
right? Getting into that. But of course, to the quote, as you mentioned, is just do it and don't fail. So I was telling him, learn how to fail. Fail forward, right? If you don't know how to fail forward, you'll never learn how to be able to pick yourself up and dust yourself off, right? So he said, I told him, do not be afraid of failure. Take things head on, try many things, fail as much as you can. When you're still young, it's a perfect time to try things and fail, and then learn from them, as opposed to be very calculated or not having enough risk.
Okay, that is very true. I mean, you don't fear the mistakes, and it's better you do them when you're still young. And we had another quote that was saying that people spend a lot of money to make the products, but at the time of launching, you don't have the marketing budget. You know, I always tell people that sales is the heart of the business, like you're saying. Learn how to make sales. And sales, of course, has to do with marketing. So you need to have the marketing budget. Actually, the production budget, of course, you need the quality, but the marketing budget takes more money.
Right.
Because it's easy to produce. Anyone can produce, and you come say, hey, I've produced this. You can set up a structure for your organization, but you have to take it to the people.
Exactly.
People need to know what you're doing.
It's exactly what I said in the first segment when I said every single person needs to learn the art of sales. Sales and marketing is one in one. It's one in two. It's one in the same. So if you know how to create an excellent product, like many Ugandans, what I love is many Ugandans are becoming innovative. They started to think outside the box. They're creating ideas. But if you do not know how it's going to be able to, I always say, start your product, create your product, and then walk backwards, right? So imagine the product is out in the market, even before, as you're making it. Picture yourself there and how you're going to market it, how you're going to sell it, then walk backwards in the production cycle and say, listen, this is an amazing product, but I need it out there. In fact, if anything, you need to put the word out while you're still creating. While you're creating, you should be marketing, you should be selling. While you're saying, guys, the next best thing is coming out soon, under production.
Exactly.
The next best thing, the same way artists, musicians will be like, I am creating that best album. The buzz around the album is huge, right? Just like how Nicki Minaj had a hugely anticipated album. While she was still writing it, she's been promoting it heavy. People are buying it, there were pre-sales that were happening. So you almost have to be intentional about marketing and selling and scaling your product whilst you're still in the production phases. Do not wait for it to be finished and then be like, okay, so where do we go? Who do we attract and who's our target market? Yeah.
That is very true, actually. You have to act like you're ready. You have to envision. That's why vision is quite very key and important, because if you don't have a vision, how are you gonna, why even doing what you're doing if you don't have a vision that it's going to be accepted in the market? Because it's not healthy and practical to first have the product, then you think of marketing it. It's going to be a burden to you and expensive for you to keep it, because it's a liability. In other words, you know, you've made it, but you've spent money on it, but it's not bringing in returns in terms of income. Okay, now we're still in our inspiration moment. Of course, we can take a look at some of the other inspiration quotes away from what we've just been observing on screen. Of course, Jack Ma is founder of Alibaba. I'll say that never give up. They say today is hard, tomorrow will be worse, but the day after tomorrow will be sunshine. So it's just the mindset that you have about life and how you perceive matters. And this is the key driving force when it comes to generating income, creating wealth, and all that. Now, of course, I can't miss out Oprah Winfrey. Well, of course, a media mogul and a philanthropist. Al says that the difference between successful people and others is not the lack of strength, but it's not lack of strength, it's not lack of knowledge, but rather the lack of will. The willpower works in all sectors. And I mean, you've heard about lots of inspirational speakers who speak about the willpower, you know, in terms of a man achieving something. You know, the soul of the man is not limited. It can achieve whatever it takes. I mean, if the willpower is actually strong, that's what creates the difference. And that doesn't mean things will be easy. You'll face the worst, you'll be cut to the edge, but within you, there is this belief that, you know what, I'll be great.
So can I ask a question, right? Because people are probably watching it and saying, that's all great and well and dandy to hear all these things, but why doesn't 90% of the population do this? What deters us from thinking heavy and thinking deep and looking within and being inspired? Why do you think the number one cause is before you move on?
It is simply because we assume. That's why it comes back to the willpower. If somebody tells you that, hey, go work hard, meet 100 people, I mean, it's because we rely on people's experiences and we perceive that they are the whole thing. But each person experiences life differently. You know, if somebody tells you that I spent 20 years, that's when I started to experience my business to grow. For you, it might take 40 years. We all have a different journey because we operate in different economies, first of all. I mean, Oprah is speaking, I mean, as somebody operating in a system like the United States with established systems which work, the hustle is going to go through to make it work. It's not compared to somebody in Africa who has to, it's toil and blood. But still in the USA, not everybody makes it. Why? Because even though you are in a fair system, of course, there is what they call a testation, a falling away, whereby you can start thousands of people into pursuing something, but once the testations come, are you going to be found worthy? If you're weighed, you will be found wanting.
Right.
In terms of...
And I think one of the tools in which people, because people are actively looking for those tools that they can use to be able to inspire themselves, is look at your situation and ask yourself if you want to be there for the next 3 years. If you want to be in that situation for the next year, and be real with yourself. Because no one else is going to pick you out of the gutters but yourself, right? You have to pick yourself up by your bootstraps. And it's easy to just listen, just like we can listen to the word of God and be inspired, but then don't do action. For faith without action is basically, so you have to have an almost inspired action every day to wake up and say, I have to get out of this place. I have to be inspired. I have to push through. And you mentioned Oprah. I listen to Oprah almost every other day. Every week I listen to a segment. For her, absorbing her interviews that she has with all these prolific leaders, for me, is like reading a book, right? So I love her segments. But when she's able to tell you to tap with the inner man, that man inside within, giant within, he read that book. So Brian, I think it wasn't Brian Tracy, someone else. But to be able to tap within and look at your situation and say, listen, no one is saving you but yourself. You have to be able to tap in. So that's an important one.
It's actually, because the world in itself is designed in a way that its systems are differently, regardless of what country, they are not perfect in some sort of a way. But you've been born without perfection within you. You're the only perfect being that you're created. You know, the fact that you possess a soul. But possessing that, of course, what is going to befall you is opposing what is already inside of you. So it's up to you to convince yourself that all that I'm saying is just, it will pass. But I have to keep moving. You know, that's what has made the Bill Gates, the Elon Musks, because I believe these people are telling somebody's story, that story of a young man that had his setting up a computer. He had set up a computer in some garage somewhere, and he needed people to invest in his. He needed like a venture capital fund to develop his project. And you know, there is a wealthy man somewhere. He's not very wealthy, but then this person is told there is a young man out there. He's trying to build up a computer program. He needs some support in terms of if you could be a venture funder in some sort of a venture fund. Give him a venture fund, and this person says, "I can't do that. It's risky." But you see, imagine you are that young man at that particular time. You can't feel like, okay, maybe I'm not good enough with what I'm doing. And that is the worst aspect, because we face a lot of challenges that tamper with our self-esteem, you know, and we are blown away. But anyway, to cut the story short, years have passed by, and the young man happens to be Bill Gates, you know. But imagine this person at that situation, and I'm trying to imagine if this person who was supposed to fund his project is still alive. I don't know what they are thinking as a result of that. And if Bill Gates looks way back in that time, I don't know what he's thinking at that time. It's like, what was going through? Because I would love to ask him, what went through your mind at the point somebody wouldn't give you capital to develop your fund? You know?
And it's true, because they say opportunity finds those that are prepared, because it's important to be extremely prepared in whatever you're doing. So if you have a goal and you have a vision and you start to cultivate it every single day, don't wait for the funding. Start to do necessary steps within your framework, within your budget, within whatever you can do, within your circle, to start to make it work. And then when the opportunity strikes and someone wants to fund you, Andrew Barije, you can step up and be counted and say, yeah, I am billable, I am credible. I can do this. I've been doing the work and I'm ready. Just like when you look at Shark Tank, I love to look at Shark Tank, because there's different investors that are on a panel that are looking at these people coming in and they're pitching their ideas. They're asking them questions like, how long have you been doing this? What kind of groundwork? They don't have any money, but they're looking at their spirit. They're looking at their work ethic. They're looking at, you have had nothing, and what have you done with the nothing? To get to the point where you're now asking for funding. And many of the businesses that have become successful on Shark Tank, not because they're the most successful businesses prior to Shark Tank, it's because they had the most heart, the most passion and self-belief, that when they gave them that $1 million, they were able to multiply it several times over. So I think that's important, to find opportunity, finding you where you're prepared. So constantly prepare now, that when it does show up, you're there.
You're actually already there. All right, finally, I'm going to talk about Jeff Bezos. That is the point of Amazon. He says that if you don't embrace change, you are going to become irrelevant. Okay, of course, Amazon is one of those aspects that we've seen really transforming over the years. You know, somebody said that the true spirit of entrepreneurship is, okay, I'm starting up a problem. Let me give it in the Ugandan context. I'm starting up a chapati stall. You know, after 1 month, it's, of course, I'm recovering the profit, but at least in 6 months, I should be thinking of having another chapati stall. You know, in the next 4 months, I must be thinking of, okay, how do I now expand my portfolio? Let me probably buy a bike, which is going to help me deliver these chapati, because now I'm thinking of not people coming to my store, but reaching out to people's shops, but delivering to them these chapatis. So in 6 months, I have probably a bike, I have a border, and I'm driving. After making, I leave some at my store for the customers to come and buy, but I also get my border. I reach out to the people. So that's so before you know it, you now have a vehicle. You know, you're literally now, before you know it, you have a whole restaurant. You have a snack pub, a snack pack, some sort of like that. So that is the true spirit of entrepreneurship. Not being on a chapati stall from year to year, and that is true. That's not entrepreneurship. It's I don't know how to call it, but
It's being able to multiply.
But Amazon started as a physical store. People could buy books. It took it to a whole new level online. Now the transition from just online content, books, to productions, movie productions. Now they have transcended from just movie productions to sports. So that is the true spirit of entrepreneurship. You see, now they have the
whole network, yeah.
You know,
Amazon TV, yeah.
It's all just very amazing. They now have a documentary they showcase about Arsenal, and every person is like, hey, I can't wait to watch it. So sports, entertainment, and knowledge, information, books. So change. You have to move with the change, with the current trends. That's what Jeff Bezos tells you. That is the truth. You be like a chameleon. You have to change. You don't have to stay that way. Well, that is it for our business reports for now. Now heading back to our topic of discussion: how to make the holiday makers busy. I was discussing with somebody right now about for young kids. One of the credible lessons that they could actually take up during the holidays is to get acquainted with computer programming.
Computer programming is extremely important. I think one of the ways in which I learned computer was over the holidays. Every time I would come back from school and there was a computer and I would learn how to type, right? So it's important for me to learn how to type.
Yeah.
But the thing about it that's different now, the space we live in now, because many kids back then were taught girls were taught how to weave baskets, do maths, things like that, right? Those are skills. Even in home econ, I remember that they would teach us how to like weave like a little mat and stuff. But what we want taught is how to monetize that and live in a world now where those small skills that we're learning over the holidays, how can we start to use them to make money? How can I have a lemonade stand? I'm doing juice. How can I put my stand as a holiday maker outside the house? And as people are walking in, people are running in the morning and jogging, I'm selling them a glass of juice every morning, the same way the sugarcane people start to do it. So with computer programming as well, it's essential because we now live in a world that's completely tech savvy. Everything is AI, everything is on the internet, everything. You have to be well versed with computers. You can no longer say, I don't know how to do that. It's one of those things you must know. So it's important then to enroll them in computer classes quite young. Enroll them in finance classes as well over the holiday, learn how to do financing, read books on money at a very young age. When I do have a child, one of the first things I'm going to be teaching them is money. How when you take this soda to the shop, what's the change? How can you grow this? You know those things that you start to teach the kids about the small principles of money and how important it is to grow and save money? Those are things that we don't have as a nation because we're solely focused on what? Education. Make sure you get a 111 in English and science, but without purpose. I think we learn and we educate ourselves, but it's not very intentional. It's not intentional to like, this is to build your money and your career. It's almost like we're doing it to get a job, and we're not doing it to grow our portfolio, to grow our money, to grow our income. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the issue with the education system here, is now over the holidays, we can take this back into our own hands and actually get these kids on purpose. So you're learning this computer class because guess what? You might be able to teach a computer class for the holidays, next back and start to make money. You see that all the time with kids abroad. They have these practical lessons that they start to use. Someone is learning how to crochet. They crochet a little bag. I've seen it. I think one of my family, my auntie does crocheting, and now she's teaching her daughter. So now over the holidays, she crochets, helps the mom, but now she knows that as I'm crocheting, this is supposed to be for sale. It's not just what? Fun items
for fun.
There's an intention behind whatever activity that you're doing. So where our kids over these holiday makers now are learning to be more intentional. They have to learn to be more intentional with what they're doing. Whatever they're doing has to bring back money. It has to bring back something into the household. Whether it's 5,000 a month, whether it's 10,000, it starts to grow from there. Wouldn't you agree?
I would definitely agree because I can definitely spot this from the Indians, how they do, most especially how you run the business. I mean, it's holiday time with your child from college or high school, and then you have to travel with your parent to the business premises and see exactly how the business really looks. But in Uganda today, it's very absurd when when these kids get back home. They're Netflix.
Yeah.
They're on TikTok. You know, so the smartphone age, as much as it is meant for the good and boosting entrepreneurial abilities, it is also contributing to a rise of the, I don't want to use this word, I don't want to say dumb, a generation that can't think of it for its own, because
it has a very short attention span.
that's the best word to use.
So
I don't
yeah.
want to.
So it's almost like it's dumbed down our thinking, it's dumbed down our creative skills. Do you remember when we were young and the things that we used to play? We never have these computers and stuff all over, right? If you go to the computer, it's like once in a while.
Once in a while.
But as we're growing up, you taught how to make your own ball, eh? You do your own ball.
That's creativity and innovation.
You do kakebe. We'll play with the kakebe. We'll play with chocolo. All these games that were so creative, right? We'll get like bottle tops, put them together, and we're playing a game. Or you're doing dolo. Yeah. Things that allow to create some sort of expansion in the brain. Or when girls would jump on the whatever in those holes, counting it like that. All those things allow the brain to access different facets of the brain without it being dull or dumbed down. But now when you have a very short attention span, if you're having a Rubik's Cube, you can't even focus long enough to solve the Rubik's Cube because you're thinking, this is boring, I'd rather go watch a TikTok for 2 seconds because it has completely dumbed down the thinking. That is what the internet has done. So it can also work detrimentally, as you've said.
I wouldn't, it's okay to watch TV, it's fine. But you see, even the content that you watch out there is quite a lot of content that you can watch that can grow you as an individual, most especially as a kid. The earlier you get, you learn to understand that you have purpose as to why you are on this earth. It's way bigger than just getting good grades and, you know, holiday school. But there is something way more to that. Then you would actually, I would urge you still to watch some informative. There are movies that are quite informative that teach you how to make money, how to multiply money, and how to view aspects of life. Anyway, this is all dependent on how you view this. But the bigger picture here now, the responsibility comes back to the parents of monitoring their children and telling them, I understand, it's good you have these good grades, but there is more to life than just good grades. I want to teach you how I want you to come to my business, see how I make money, you know, see how I deal with my clients. It may not make sense to you, but just follow me. Be here.
And make it a fun project.
Make it a fun project.
One of the ways in which, as what you've just said, responsibility goes back to the parents to be able to put a limit on what the children can see, making private settings on the phone so you're able to access what they're doing. Yeah. But also some of these apps are really helpful. I use an app called Duolingo because I love language, right? Communication skills is another skill that kids can basically bolster and improve. You're finding kids in Uganda at 12 who can't construct a proper sentence. And then you see other people in other spaces at 5, 6.
You can't construct sentences.
Brilliant sentences. For us, we still look at our 12-year-olds like they're still kids. Hiya, baby. No, we're talking to them like they're like children. They can't construct, they can't draft sentences because we're not bolstering those communication skills over the holidays. So they're waiting to go to class to learn these things. But how about we push for apps like Duolingo? Push for apps like this. Over the holidays, how I was able to learn other languages is my mom was pushed in the holiday that I went to Alliance Française, learn French, or do like some French skits, you practice those things from home, meet some French neighbors and practice with them. Those fun kind of things allow you to meet your people. So you communicate, you're not shy in more, you have friends in the neighborhood, encouraging you to speak to your friends in the neighborhood. Right now you find kids are only on their TikTok and that's their friend. They don't know how to speak to the neighbors, they don't know how to socialize, so it impacts them as they enter into the corporate world, where they can't be able to make friends easily, they can't be able to interact, and those are skills. Social skills are important to be able to bolster over this festive season. That can also help you grow in your corporate space when you do get into that world. But apps like Duolingo allow you to learn. It's a fun way for you to learn language. Yeah. It's a fun way for you to improve on your language skills. Be it English, be it French. And you can also choose to monetize it later down the road and say, listen, I have a fun learning channel on my TikTok, things like that, or a podcast. Yeah. So some of these apps can be used for good as opposed to evil, depending on how you use them. So you can use this period to grow your TikTok pages, right? Grow your Instagram pages. And maybe as your following grows, you can start to monetize these pages. I think there's that kid, or I think it's called Brennan or something, I see him on Instagram. This is a kid who's still in school. But he has, I don't know how many, over 300,000 followers on Instagram alone and TikTok. So every time he goes to school, he comes back, he does a TikTok, it blows up, and he gets sponsorship from boutiques, hotels, garments, at a very young age while he's still in school. So these are some of the things in which you can use social media over this holiday. Those skills, social media skills, to be able to bring in and generate income over the holiday season.
Maybe what I can say is that, you see, during this time, it's the time when you are the ultimate peak of your freedom. I mean, you don't have responsibilities, maybe if you're in a relationship, because these days, but you don't have responsibilities, neither are you're not married, you're not paying any bills or something. So this is the best time for you, and where your brain can actually focus way big. Use this time to develop yourself. I mentioned of computer programming. This is something that is better for you to catch when you're at a young age, because you remember, when the brain grows, the strength to grasp new concepts a little deteriorates. Of course, you will still grasp it, but you will struggle as compared to somebody. If you're 30, somebody who's 20, you can't have the same span in terms of being attentive and getting concepts faster. So this is quite the advantage that you have. You're just in senior 2, senior 3. My goodness, you have a long, bright future just ahead of you. If only you make the right decision right now during the holidays. Read a lot of books which are developmental. If you want to be an entrepreneur, of course, acquaint yourself with entrepreneur-related books. We have people in vacation right now. Senior 6, this is the time for you. You may not actually have to wait for your parents to dictate your direction, but find purpose for your life. See what you really want to do, and start right now. Let the step start right now, because you have a lot of time and your brain can actually focus on something. Computer programming, I would urge you to really go do that. Artificial intelligence is the way to go. So by the time, if you're 20 and you're starting this, I can guarantee you that by 25 you will be able to get yourself a 6-figure job, and your livelihood will never be the same. And by 30,
or even exploring, which is a really good point you've made, or exploring the creative avenues, right?
Yeah.
Some people know how to draw, they love to draw, they love to be creative. At the Oma Showground, we saw people creating things like beads, customized clocks, things like that are interesting. These are some of the things that I also do in my other life, right? Customized clocks, things like that, creative spaces. Yeah. That's a very important thing to be able to have, where people now know how to do their little beads, and they're young, they're kids, they're helping them.
Kids are doing that.
And it's fun. It's actually a fun thing that they're doing, and they can start to sell them on the street to their neighbor. They start to sell them, they get their beads, source them for 5,000 shillings, and start to sell them for about 15,000 shillings and make profit. And you can start to teach them those practices through their creative avenues, like, doing their beads, their paintings, things like that. They can start to grow.
Yeah,
their business.
And you see, at this age, you're not on pressure, because if you barely start this at 20, by 25 in Uganda, you're not yet really. Some actually at 25, you're still staying at your parents' home. So if you start at 20, because everything you pursue has a gestation period where it has to, the seed you're planting in you has to grow before you start to really think of earning good money from that. So 28 years, man, you can start at 28 when you're ready. You have experience of 8 years of doing something. Other than starting at 30, you know what 30 means for a Ugandan person? That's when you are actually entering the period of responsibility. So when you start something at 30, your attention span will be so limited, because responsibilities come, you have to pay rent, you have to clear all these bills. So it's going to be very hard for you to focus on it.
And bills are real.
And be real. But somebody who started at 20, by the time you're clicking 30, you already have experience of 10 years.
I mean, imagine, just look at what's
10
happening.
10 years experience.
Just look at what's happening on the screen. We have someone that's doing cakes. That's a self-made person, a self-employed person. A lot of kids love to cook. But are they monetizing that food that they're cooking, right? I mean, are they monetizing that business? You can start to cook cookies, baking small cakes, and sell them from the comfort of your home.
Comfort of your home.
And then you sell those cakes and start to become a business mind.
Business mind. But what I also think, I believe this time is for getting experience for these kids. Because I understand, okay, you may want to make the money so fast, but it's important because when you sell somebody something which is not of quality, for a long time, because you might think, because they can't support you because you're young, okay, let's support this young kid, but that doesn't mean it should stay that way. Me, I would feel like this would be time to get experience in a skill.
Yeah, I agree, but also when they learn how to monetize that quite young, as they grow, because obviously in any business, there's a lady, how can I describe, there's a girl I know, she just entered into cakes and cake designing a while ago, but older, much, in her late 20s, she started to do this business. She's like, I'm going to teach myself how to do cakes. And now she's an expert. She's done all the shows. And in the beginning, her cakes looked oblong. They were poorly designed. They tasted good, and people started to support her. But one of the things that she challenged herself is that some of the money that I'm getting, I want to go to classes. I want to improve on myself. So some of the money that she was getting from just the support of family, who like, you know, I believe in you. You have to have that natural decision to say, listen, if I really want to be great at this, I must improve. Because the truth is, if you're doing low quality for the longest time, and you don't, at some point, no one is going to pay you.
Nobody's going to buy that.
They won't buy. So you also have to make that decision. Listen, without the sales coming in, I have to do something different and pivot. So I really wish we'd have financial classes for children. I know a friend of mine who does financial schools for young people. So it's a very interesting conversation.
Very interesting. Of course, I have fun knowing the time is already out. Let's take a break for now. And of course, sports and entertainment coming up.
Smart 24, driving business.